Good evening, Cougar fans, and welcome inside of Geisman Gymnasium as the 7-12 Benedictine Eagles travel down to River Forest to take on your Concordia University Chicago Cougars. I'm Parker Kelly, and I'm joined by Peter Borkowski. Peter, the Cougars are coming fresh off of a CIT weekend. They made it to the championship game for the first time since 2018. Despite making the championship game, the Cougars suffered their biggest loss of the season, but one player that really shined for the Cougars was Malia Perry.
It was a fun weekend all around for the Cougars despite the championship loss to CU Nebraska. Malia Perry was the star of the weekend, making the CIT All-Tournament team. She dropped 16 against CU Ann Arbor on Friday and 13 in the championship loss to CU Nebraska. But Parker, really the story of the night is going to be the shooting percentages for the Cougars. They suffered season worst field goal and three-point percentages in that game against Nebraska. Those numbers have to jump up in order to pull off a win against a feisty Benedictine team.
And one thing that is going to help that is Michaela Ellis. Michaela Ellis is back in the lineup for the Cougars. She's been a reliable player for the Cougars all year round. However, we don't know how her minutes are going to look like, but it is a big get for the Cougars.
Just having Ellis available is a big get for an offense that's really been stuck in the mud the last couple games. Besides that Ann Arbor win, Ellis has been out since January 18th in a game against Aurora, but her mid-range game, her ability to get to the basket due to her physicality are all big boosts to this offense. She's been the star of the offense for the previous couple of years. She's a senior. She's got that leadership quality. Just having her back on the lineup, even if it's on the bench for a majority of the game. Again, we don't know how those minutes are going to look, but just having her back is going to be a big boost to this squad.
Now let's talk about the history a little bit between these two teams. So Benedictine currently leads the Cougars all-time 23 wins to 8, and the Cougars have lost 7 straight against the Eagles. The last win came in February of 2018. What are the Cougars going to have to do tonight to get a win against a stubborn Eagles squad?
Well, before we even get to the keys of the game, I do want to talk about just the implications of this game. The Benedictine sits just 1 seed below the Cougars in the NAC right now, so whoever ends up pulling this win off, they're both 7-5 in conference, so whoever pulls that win off, they're going to take a big jump in those playoff standings. Cougars looking to solidify their ground while Benny's looking to jump up. Also remember, Benedictine, they're coming off a 71-39 loss at St. Norbert this past Saturday, so they're kind of reeling too from that loss, just like the Cougars from that Nebraska loss. So we got two teams in very similar situations. Whoever's going to be able to pull out the win tonight here in Geisman is going to get a big boost playoff-wise as we really hit the home stretch of the season coming up.
It's February, and that means things are starting to heat up in the NAC for sure. Let's go ahead and get into the keys of the game. I'll go ahead and start. For the Eagles, the Cougars have struggled a little bit defensively here in the later stretch of the season. The Cougars are without 3 of their best players. So for the Eagles to get it done here on the road tonight in a tough gymnasium, they're going to have to shoot the ball well. They're going to have to knock down the easy shots, whether that be from 3 or inside the three-point arc. They're going to have to shoot well and take advantage of any opportunities that they may have.
Well, for the Cougars, it does also shoot well, but I think for the Cougars, it's really important to start with those easy, well, I say easy, high percentage shots around the basket. This is a team who's been taking a lot of three-pointers lately, and they're not exactly converting on most of them. So Cougars start off with those shots around the hoop, build some confidence with some of those easy makes, and then they can move out to the perimeter as the game progresses. Maybe the defense sinks in a little bit. That's how you're going to get that shooting percentage number up. The Cougars are able to do that. They should be able to handle an Eagles team coming here to River Forest.
Should be a good one for sure. Make sure to tune in as the Eagles take on the Cougars in just a few minutes. But before that, we have a message from President Don before the playing of our national anthem.
Hello, I'm Dr. Russell Don, President of Concordia University Chicago. Thank you for tuning in to today's Cougar Athletics broadcast. We take great pride in the strength of both our athletic and academic programs, which are rooted in our steadfast commitment to Jesus Christ. Dedicated to the liberal arts as a foundation of a high-quality college degree, we believe education should form individuals for service to their neighbors. This makes Concordia Chicago an exciting and fulfilling place to study, work, learn, and grow. Learn more today by visiting cuchicago.edu. Thank you, and go Cougars!
Welcome inside a Geisman Gymnasium for tonight's NAC Conference basketball matchup between the visiting Benedictine University Eagles and the Concordia University Chicago Cougars. Carter Gledhill with you on the Cougar Sports Network, joined by Peter Borkowski as the Cougars return home after going 1-1 in the Concordia Invitational Tournament, finishing second place. They get ready to take on the 7-12 Eagles. This is going to be a great matchup, a lot at stake as we near the end of the regular season. Both of these teams tied in conference with the 7th seed at 7-5. This is a big-time game. There needs to be some momentum for the Cougars to pick up where they left off with at CIT and get back into the winning style after their conference loss against Rockford last time we were here.
This last stretch of conference play for the Cougars, they've just looked a little sluggish. They really need to pick that urgency up, and it starts tonight against a team they are neck and neck with in the playoff rankings.
And this is a Cougars team that last year against the Eagles struggled. They lost 84-44 in their matchup that is 1 year ago to date. They were outscored 33-11 in the second quarter, but this is a Cougars team that is without their star player, Catherine Benez, as a missed shot from Jaylene Wade opens up the ball game. So the Cougars are without their star player. The Eagles are without their star player as well, Breland McCory. There's a lot that's going to be going on and relying with the bench, but there's a few players for the Cougars that got the start tonight that we usually haven't seen in the starting five.
McKaylee Hopkins is usually off the bench. Princess Gate usually comes off the bench. Malia Perry did for a majority of the season. But Coach Martin giving these players these chances as the injury bugs hit the Cougars. Time to see if they step up.
Kenzie Carroll, the 5'5 freshman from Indianapolis, Indiana, with the first points of the ball game. Malia Perry in the corner, no good. Starters for the Cougars, Malia Perry, Princess Gates, Jaylene Wade, McKaylee Hopkins, and Allison McGregor. For the Eagles, Kenzie Carroll, Jordan Kalkwitz, Carson McCory, Brianna Lake, and Megan Duzansky.
Good defensive choice there by McGregor. She let McCory just take that mid-range jumper rather than take them into the paint, where McCory's got the size matchup on McGregor. So good choice there by McGregor just to hang back.
Cougars have struggled in conference since the halfway point of the season. The month of January, they just went 3-6 in their last 3 conference games. After starting 4-0, they went 0-3 in home games too. So this is a lot riding on the Cougars to get back in the momentum here at home.
Say not even just in the seeding and the implications of the records, but in terms of momentum, like you said, picking up a win here against a team you've lost 7 straight against. That's going to do a lot for your confidence.
Three-pointer from Brianna Lake. Lake on the season shooting just 11% from behind the three-point arc. But Allison McGregor getting another bucket for the Cougars. She's going to be a big factor in tonight's game in terms of if the Cougars can get her the ball inside.
Say McGregor's such a hot and cold type player. When she's being aggressive, when she's rolling to that rim, she's got some really high point potential, but it's when she kind of backs off, she maybe plays down to the competition where we see those lower point totals come in. She's got to be aggressive tonight all the way through.
Perry almost had a steal. Kalquist now out to the side for Lake. Nice move inside. Perry with the rebound, but then gets tied up with Kenzie Carroll. And the Cougars picking up their first win at CIT since 2018 after defeating Concordia University Ann Arbor 71-65 in the opening round. And it was a big comeback win for the Cougars as well. They trailed by 16 in the third quarter, ended that quarter down 5, and from there they shot 50% from the field in the final quarter of play. That's a big-time quarter and close out in the second half for a team that we've seen struggle at times in the second half.
This team usually hits their stride about the second, third quarter. They have some slow starts, they have some slow finishes, and it's not even about being consistent, 40 minutes through the game, which is ideal, but you really want to have those strong start and that strong finish. You can be really good in the middle, but a bad finish can kind of derail that.
Hopkins tried to take it all the way. Eagles go the other way. Lake on the wing. Eagles on the season averaging just over 53 points per game. That ranks 11th best in the NAC Conference. Missed shot inside on the block by Duzansky.
Great defense by Perry. So Duzansky tried to go underneath her. Perry just stayed on top. Didn't give her too much room, forcing that awkward shot from Duzansky.
Missouri Wiggum, who came in off the bench, is starting to play a little bit more and more here as we near the end of the regular season. Turns it over. Pass was intended for Allison McGregor.
So McGregor had Duzansky in between her and Wiggum. You can't force that kind of pass.
Missed shot inside from Duzansky.
So these are two teams who are struggling to score field goal percentage right now. They both had some pretty miserable performances in their last game, so it's going to be interesting to see how they try to turn things around against each other.
A foul is called on Kenzie Carroll. That'll be her first, team's first. But the one thing we've already seen so far in the opening quarter of play is that the Eagles are making an effort to put bodies on Allison McGregor when a shot goes up. And that was a hard foul by Kenzie Carroll. And we've seen her go for boards on the offensive side. But, again, grabbing those rebounds, that's something where Benedictine can grab some momentum and stop some of the bleeding where CUC is able to get those second chance points.
Say McGregor's first in the conference, 11 boards per game. Meanwhile, the Cougars as a team, they're sitting at third, 42 rebounds a game. You take those second chance points off the board, I mean, that's good for any kind of team.
Jaylene Wade using the right hand.
It's going to be Jaylene Wade really needs to step up as a scorer tonight without Michaela Ellis. Well, with limited minutes for her, let's say, and then without Catherine Bennis tonight, Wade really needs to be one of those primary scorers for the Cougars. She's shifty. She's got a good shot. She's got to take command there.
CUC drops into a zone defense. And Jaylene Wade has been a consistent backbone in this offense. She started every game this year, 19 of 19 games. She started 51 games now in her career for the Cougars. So a senior guard that they can rely on heavily, especially in the later minutes of a game as she picks it off the ground. Wiggum trying to get it to Hopkins. New possession for the Eagles.
Wingham's got to be careful with that pass again. I know you want to get off to the fast break. That's what this team thrives on is speed, but you can't throw away passes like that.
Long ball three-pointer for Sierra Skak, the freshman from Muskego, Wisconsin. Eagles now lead 8-6. 4.5 minutes remaining in the first quarter. Perry step back three, no good. Carroll going the other way, looks up the court, has nothing, and will pull it out. CUC definitely playing soft on the Eagles right now, and it's allowing for opportunities in the corner. Another three hit by Skak, and a timeout taken by Coach Mark and the Cougars. The Eagles out to an 11-6 lead with 4:06 remaining in the first quarter. We'll step aside for a quick break on the Cougar Sports Network. Back-to-back three-pointers for the Eagles. Put them up by 5 in the first quarter of play inside a Geisman Gymnasium. Right before Skak hit that corner three. Mentioned that CUC dropped off a little bit defensively, playing more of a zone, trying to control the lane, but it leads the defense exposed to those three-pointers, which CUC has had struggles defending so far this year.
And that's what you don't want to do against a team who's already struggling to hit shots from the field like Benedictine is coming in tonight. Keep pressuring them, get on them, hassle them, make those shots as miserable as you can for Benedictine. That's going to keep those struggles alive. If you give them space, they're eventually going to find their groove.
Wade, her three-pointer clanks off the side of the rim. Another three-pointer. Heat check for Skak. Gets her own shot. New 20 on the shot clock for the Eagles. Fifth offensive board for Benedictine so far in this game. Looking for somewhere to go is Lake. She takes it herself, loses it, and gets fouled on the way up by Malia Perry. It'll be the first foul on the Cougars.
Something to keep an eye on. This doesn't have to do with the foul, but the weak side ball, off-ball movement from Benedictine. They're just flying around the court. They're trying to get some space, use each other. It's usually 3 players kind of running around each other, trying to gain space from their CUC defenders. It's been working in their favor so far. Most of their shots have been pretty wide open. So that off-ball movement is going to be something to watch for Benedictine.
Lake came into tonight just averaging over 4 points per game. She has that right now and more with 5. As McGregor picks it up on the block, CUC has been on a scoring drought of over 2 minutes. And a travel is called on Allison McGregor. And this is something where the Cougars find themselves trouble in the early minutes of games is when, as you mentioned, a team's able to get backside development on offensive plays. But then also, to the turnovers, the fast turnovers, where CUC is playing 2 steps or 2 parts in front of what the original play is supposed to be, and they'll turn it over a few too many times.
Yeah, just kind of simple mistakes that are avoidable. Travels, errant passes that aren't related to anybody. That's just something that you need to clean up. When you're a struggling team, that's something you can control. That's something that the other team doesn't have too much of an impact on. So you got to clean things up on your own end before you really focus on what the other team's doing.
Missed 3-pointer by Lake in the corner pocket. 4 turnovers in the last 5 minutes for the Cougars. They have not scored in almost 3 minutes. Jaylene Wade puts up a good shot. Shooting woes of the first quarter continue for CUC as the Eagles are now up 13-6, nearing 2 minutes remaining in the first quarter. Another drive inside from Lake, and a foul is called. She'll head back to the free throw line for 2.
Foul's another one of those things that you just got to take care of on your own end. I know you want to make the play, you want to make that shot difficult for the person driving the lane, but if Benedictine, they know how to draw those fouls. They're going to give themselves 1 or 2, basically free points every time. So Cougars, they got to learn to back off at certain points.
Charson McCory checks in for the Eagles. McKaylee Hopkins for the Cougars. Eagles coming off of a 71-39 loss against St. Norbert College on the 28th. Against St. Norbert, the only undefeated team remaining in the NAC Conference with a perfect 12-0 record, 16-3 overall.
Something interesting about that St. Norbert game, no Benedictine player scored 10-plus in any category. No 10-plus scores, rebounders, assists. Everyone stayed in the single digits, but 24 of their 39 points did come from the bench, so this is a deep team. It's a team that likes to use most of their players in the rotation.
After McKaylee Hopkins ends the scoring drought, CUC back into a soft defense, but it leaves another 3-pointer open.
That's
Sierra Skak with another 3.
That soft defense just not doing it. It's time to pull the reverse card and start pressuring out a little bit more. Get some hands in those shots.
Chloe Schafsma inside. Misses the running jumper. 13-2 run of the last 3 minutes for the Eagles. Can they hit another? No, they can't, but almost an offensive board by Jordan Colquist.
So defensively, after the shot, no Cougars really staying in that mid-range area around the free throw line, which is why so many open rebounds are heading to that area. You got to put a body in there to prevent that open of a rebound from getting to Benedictine.
Megan Dzansky checks back in for Benedictine. Missouri Wiggum as well for CUC. And right now looking at the box score, Cougars with 5 turnovers, Eagles with 2. But Benedictine's out-rebounding CUC 12-6 right now.
Well, and despite the ability of McGregor, despite the fact that Cougars are 3rd in the conference in rebounds, they still have a -5 rebound differential on the season. This is a team who doesn't often win that rebound battle.
Nice take coast to coast from McKaylee Hopkins. She gets fouled on the way up. She'll head to the free throw line. And right now what we're seeing in the absence of Catherine Benez, the leading scorer for the Cougars, is players like McKaylee Hopkins, Malia Perry really stepping up, taking it upon themselves to take quality shots and get to the basket.
Well, you might lose that one-star scorer from your squad, but all that means is a bunch of other players are going to step up to try and fill that hole collectively, like Hopkins, like Perry. We've seen Wigham get some more time. We've seen Shaftsman get some more playing time through this injury bug that's been hitting the Cougars lately. So it's nice to see these players get their chances. They need to execute on them if this team's going to stay in the thick of that playoff race.
3 seconds separating shot clock and game clock. Chloe draws, hanging out by the top, winding down as much time as possible. Colquist gets it poked away by Hopkins, and the last second shot does not go. Buzzer goes off, shot clock violation. Credit McKaylee Hopkins for the steal and poking it away.
Interesting play call there. They had the ISO up top with draws against Wade, and then Colquist was backing into, I believe that was McKaylee Hopkins. And then they gave it to Colquist, who had her back to the player. She couldn't really go anywhere with it, so I don't think that was exactly the end of quarter play Benedictine wanted to run.
Sydney Lloyd comes off the bench, half-court heave, and it's good! Sydney Lloyd off the bench!
Whoa!
Oh my goodness! Sports Center top 10 play!
That's one way to end the quarter.
Sydney Lloyd brings the Cougars back within 5. Geisman went from 0 to 10.
I think went 0 to 100. It's a more correct statement there. Wow. Comes off the bench, drains the half quarter. Whew. Talk about a game entrance.
Second quarter of play to start soon. Now some quarter intermission break by the CUC dance team. Welcome back inside Geisman Gymnasium. Sydney Lloyd with the half-court buzzer beater to close out the first quarter, but to start the second quarter, let's send it out into Parker Kelly courtside.
Thank you, Carter. Well, that last shot by Sydney Lloyd sure seemed to get Geisman on their feet, but a point of emphasis for the Cougars so far has been defense. The Cougars allowed the Eagles to go on a 13-4 run, also allowed the Eagles to shoot 40% from the three. Three-point defense has to be better if the Cougars want to win this game. Back to you, Carter.
Thank you, Parker. And now as we get ready to resume action on the court, what a spectacular shot for Sydney Lloyd. Let's talk about it one more time. She appeared in CIT, and those are her first points of the season.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know really what to add on to that.
McKaylee Hopkins with the steal and score.
But besides just the wow factor of it, hopefully this is a big momentum gain for the Cougars. You know, Lloyd comes off the bench last second, drains a half-court shot. Geisman starts, gets, like we said, 0 to 10 in a second. Use that momentum, use that energy, build off of it, close this gap even more.
And Sydney Lloyd forces a 3-second violation against Charson McCory. And all it takes is one play to tip the balance of momentum in favor of one team. We'll see if that half-court heave from Sydney Lloyd to close out the half will do that. Pump fake three, she wanted it. She'll take it baseline, give it to McGregor.
There's a mid-range jumper compared to her first make of the night.
Missouri Wigham gives it off to Jaylene Wade at the top of the key. Cougars running the weave. Gets a screen from Lloyd. Wade, three in front of the Eagles bench, is left short. Rebound by Carlquist.
All Benedictine's trying to do right now is calm things down. Things got real loud at the end of that first quarter. They want to get control back in their favor, get momentum back on their side, and just slow down the Cougars.
Well, that was the 18th shot taken by the Eagles tonight, 11 of which have been three-pointers, so they're definitely trying their luck with the long ball after they had success in the first quarter. Sydney Lloyd inside, gets bumped by number 30, Megan Dzansky. And we're going to get 2 free throws here from Sydney Lloyd. Thought the foul was on the ground, but Lloyd was able to get a last-second shot attempt up, even though never released the ball. The motion now will carry her to the free throw line. 46% career free throw shooter for the Cougars. Makes the first. Appeared in 16 games last year with 4 starts, averaging 14 minutes a game. Sydney Lloyd, 5 points for her, and a great way to kickstart the season scoring total. We'll be talking about that half-court heave for the rest of the season. Cougars now down by 1. Carroll was looking for the three-pointer, but was guarded by Wade. Now a drive by Dzansky, able to lay it in.
It's a good move there by Dzansky. She had Lloyd all over her. So that's one of those plays that good offense just beat good defense. Not much Lloyd could do without fouling her.
Jaylene Wade, crossover. A good shot, creating separation. That's what you want to see from Wade. That's when she gets going, is when she's able to create that separation, those wide open looks, and that's why they try to get her the ball and move her around offensively.
She's just such a shifty player. She's quick. Her change of direction is quick, and then she's able to dot passes like that.
And one, McKaylee Hopkins. Michael Jordan kind of layup, floated in the air, and an impressive finish for the freshman. That's the free throw line to try to complete the three-point play.
Hopkins is going to be a really fun player to watch in the upcoming years. As you mentioned, only a freshman, but already a conference leader in steals per game, and then she's just such an elusive skill set. Now, she does have some things to work on, like free throw shooting. She struggled with that all season, but she's a really nice young piece for this Cougars team to have for the upcoming seasons.
Malia Perry back in for the Cougars. And will be called for the foul. It'll send Jordan Colquist to the line for a pair of free throws. Colquist on the season, making her 20th start with the Eagles. 75% free throw shooter, averaging over 7 points per game. Princess Gates comes in to replace Malia Perry for CUC. Sarah Smith in for the Eagles. Replaces the shooter Colquist. 3-point ball game, and a foul is called. Sierra Skack, a little too much contact on McKaylee Hopkins, trying to bring the ball up. So interesting move here for the Cougars. McKaylee Hopkins bringing the ball up. Usually Jaylene Wade does.
Well, without Ellis, without Bennis, as I mentioned, Wade kind of has to take on more of a scorer role. So having Hopkins be the facilitator, give Wade that chance to move into open space off ball before being able to pop a shot off.
Wade able to get around a double screen and gets fouled after the pass. So the Cougars will inbound on the baseline with 7 seconds on the shot clock. Sierra Skack picks up her second personal foul. Now the shot clock will head back out to 20 seconds. And a good play defensively by Kenzie Carroll, trailing inbounder Princess Gates all the way to the right wing, knocking the ball out of bounds.
Cougars becoming maybe a little predictable in the perimeter passing. Now, you usually don't worry about that. It's on the perimeter, but Carroll is able to pick up on it, get a hand on it. Luckily for the CUC, it went out of bounds.
Princess Gates all the way, too strong off the backboard.
Gates is another player. I like her skill set that we saw last year especially, and I wish she got a bit more utilization in this offense. She's such a good cutter and diver to the rim.
McGregor with the rebound, Hopkins the other way. Acrobatic layup. McGregor was there, had the ball for a split second, and it was knocked out of bounds by the Eagles. And just touch on Kenzie Carroll again and her defensive efforts. On that last shot she took, she missed it, but then was waiting. As soon as the Cougars turned around and were looking for the outlet pass, she was there trying to poke it away. Missouri Wiggum can't get it the first time, gets a second chance opportunity. The Cougars will pull it back out.
Good hustle on that. Own a rebound for Wingham. Gives her team a second chance after her own miss.
Hopkins over to Wiggum in the corner three. Airballed. And almost a horrible collision in the corner. Allison McGregor ended up on the back of Kenzie Carroll. Carroll so far tonight, 2 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. Eagles trying to get somewhere near the baseline. Now they do. They've been trying to work down to up at times, and there you go, the explosive drive. Using the baseline, Sarah Smith. Reverse layup for her. First points of the night.
Those buckets have been a little rare for Benedictine. Cougars have, as we've said all night, they're playing soft on the perimeter, clogging up that driving lane to the rim, but Benedictine able to find a hole on that one and exploit it.
Gates the inbounder for the Cougars. Wade, right elbow. Gives it back to Gates. Long two-pointer. Airballed, rebound by Carroll. And a foul by McKaylee Hopkins. Hopkins will pick up her first personal foul. Sydney Lloyd and Chloe Schaafsma come in to replace Allison McGregor and Missouri Wiggum. Both these teams off to a slow start here in the second quarter. After an exciting end to the first quarter with a half-court shot from Sydney Lloyd to beat the buzzer, she's back out there on defense guarding Sarah Smith. Carroll in the paint looking for somewhere to go. Good slip and pass inside. Carroll to Smith. Eagles up by 7. CUC has not scored a bucket in the last 3 minutes. Gates had a shot, gives it off to Schaafsma, and Schaafsma tosses it to Benedictine.
So what you got to avoid, you can't give away mistakes like that, or Benedictine's almost going to capitalize on it. Almost going to capitalize on it twice now.
2 missed layups from Brianna Lake. Getting the rebound was Kenzie Carroll. Possession still alive for the Eagles. Megan Duzansky gets fouled by Jaylene Wade. It'll lead to free throws. The third team foul by the Cougars this quarter.
Cougars, we talked about it briefly before. They've just done a lot of self-damage so far. A lot of fouls, a lot of thrown away passes, violations like double dribbles and travels. You're not going to win a game against a team who's almost right on your skill level, especially record-wise, almost throwing the game away like that.
Jordan Colquist in for Benedictine, as well as Madeline Kohler. Now a foul is called. Well, one of the other officials on the court said jump ball. Well, a foul is called instead. And the foul will go against Sydney Lloyd for a hold. Lloyd picks up her first personal foul. Allison McGregor comes back in after a quick break, replaces Jaylene Wade, who needs a break for sure, a much-deserved break for number 3 in white. The Eagles moving it around. A drive by Carlquist, no good. Hopkins the other way.
Lloyd might have gotten a piece of that on that one. A good interception on the other end there.
Eagles bolted down the court. Step back from Carlquist. She hits it. And a timeout called by Coach Martin.
Smart decision there. Benedictine's been picking up the speed lately, making more drives to the rim. It's a good call by Coach Martin to try and slow the game down for a little bit.
9-0 run for Benedictine over the last 3.5 minutes. They now lead by 10 over the Cougars. You're watching the Cougar Sports Network. Eagles out to their largest lead of the ball game, 10 points, up 29-19 with 3:37 remaining in the second quarter. Coach Martin calling a timeout after what was a turnover on CUC's end, led to an Eagles jumper by Jordan Carlquist, who has done a phenomenal job tonight of finding a way to maneuver past CUC's defense that's been clogging up the paint. But going back to the Hopkins turnover, we've seen the aggressive fast break for CUC that's led to 8 points in transition, but we've also seen the careless aggressive that has led to what right now is 7 turnovers in this game.
I'm all for fast-paced basketball. I think it's one of the best aspects of this sport, but you got to know when to pull things out, let the offense get set up. Yes, that means the defense is going to get set up too, but that's better than taking a careless pass and throwing it away. And like you said, McKaylee Hopkins has suffered from that a little bit through this game, and she's still a freshman. She's still learning the college game, even if she has been playing well up to this point. Hopefully that's something she builds upon as we move forward in her career. But on the other end, Benedictine, they might have 0 fast break points, but they're doing a really good job getting down the court fast. They might not be getting technically fast break points, but their offense is doing good things in transition.
Moving screen called on Allison McGregor in the last possession for CUC. And a nice move inside again, Jordan Carlquist. 6 points for her.
And you really saw the speed of Benedictine on that. That ball's flying around, bodies are flying around, off ball, on ball. You saw Allison McGregor. She was a couple steps behind that ball. She wasn't the only CUC defender to be doing that. So Benedictine just beating the Cougars with movement right now.
Missed three-pointer in the corner for Lloyd. Benedictine on the other side tries a three-pointer themselves. Carlquist with the miss, Lloyd with the rebound. Good rebound for number 14 with 2 black jerseys around her. Hopkins able to get to the basket and is fouled. Foul is called on Carlquist. That'll be her first personal foul, team's 5th. Couple new faces on the court for the Eagles. One of which is the 6'1 sophomore, Charson McCory. Hopkins has had her struggle at the free throw line this year, shooting just 26% from the charity stripe. Goes 0 for 2. Now Benedictine trying to speed up tempo. Head coach Oliver Wiseman in his second season telling the Eagles to get up court before CUC gets set. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Draws, left wing, three-pointer. Too strong. Offensive rebound by the Eagles. New 20. And a timeout called by Oliver Wiseman and the Eagles. 30-second timeout. We'll keep it here. Right now what we're seeing, Peter, is the Eagles, they're not scoring as often as we saw in the first quarter. I mean, they're still on a 13-2 run over the last 6 minutes, but that run is, in part, a big part of that is the defense by Benedictine right now. They're forcing CUC to take poor quality shots, and they're getting them out of sorts. They're changing it up. We saw a press right over they got over half court. They've been able to play man. They've been throwing a lot of looks at CUC. The question is, how will CUC respond?
Well, they've really been shutting down the perimeter shooting and the inside shooting. This is not a CUC team made out of a bunch of mid-range jumpers, especially with Michaela Ellis being limited in this game. CUC's just got to find a way to get things open. You got to, like you said, Benedictine's really pressuring them. There's always a hand in the face of the CUC shooter, so some off-ball movement, some quicker ball movement, whipping that thing around, that might lead to it.
Wade with the steal. Hopkins misses the layup. Ball on the court. Wade picks it up. Hopkins looking for help.
Lloyd's open.
Lloyd open. She has space. Misses the three-pointer. A three-point specialist. Hopkins inside for McGregor, who dishes it back out. 11 seconds on the shot clock. CUC. Lots of standing around offensively. Hopkins with the hook shot. She now has 10 points.
So CUC able to get the score there, but there were a couple picks they set that their ball handlers just declined. I wish they would use those a bit more. That's how you get that open space.
Hopkins using the right hand and one. 12 points for McKaylee Hopkins. That is a new career high.
Yeah, Hopkins is so athletic, especially when it comes to finishing at the rim. Now, sometimes she's a little too strong with it. We've seen her overshoot the basket and the square quite a few times, but when she's controlled, when she really has a grip on what she's doing, it's just hard to stop her in that area. I think you used the term very Michael Jordan-like earlier in the game, and I think it's hard to argue with that in terms of her creativity at the rim.
We talked about the absence of some players for CUC. Who's going to step up? And McKaylee Hopkins getting her first start tonight sets a new career high. 12 points and counting for the freshman from St. Louis, Missouri. Open three-pointer for Skak. She's definitely cooled off since the first quarter.
Hopkins and McGregor got tied up on that screen. Someone's got to take Skak.
Wiggum banks it in from downtown. Only the second made three-pointer for Missouri Wiggum on the season.
Well, big stop here for the Cougars. Benedictine should have the last shot of the half, so they might try and take one now. Oh!
And a hard foul by Sydney Lloyd. Chloe Draws was going in the lane, spun around, and was met by the 5'10 guard, Sydney Lloyd. It was a hard foul, and it will lead to free throws for the Eagles.
That's the last thing you want to do right now. Benedictine, they were probably going to get the last shot off Draws. Instead decides to take it hard to the rim. Now she's going to be able to tack on ideally 2 points. So now the Cougars will have one more shot to drain a three-pointer.
First free throw is missed by Draws. 19th appearance on the season, averaging just over 2 points a game. Goes 1 for 2, makes it a 6-point ball game.
Say end of a quarter. Last second situation and shot. I think we know who the Cougars want to get the ball in the hands of.
Hopkins has it, gets it over to Wade. Wade's eyeing the left corner, takes it herself. Can't get it to go, and the Eagles will hold off. That'll be the end of the first half here inside a Geisman Gymnasium. Colby Draws was able to get one of 2 free throws to go. Added a little cushion for the Eagles as they head into the locker room, leading the Cougars 32-26. When we come back after the halftime break, Parker Kelly will join us for the halftime breakdown on the Cougar Sports Network.
Concordia University Chicago is a Christ-centered Lutheran university where truth, freedom, and vocation form students for lives of influence and service for the common good. Our university offers a wide variety of undergraduate and graduate degree options that are available in person and online. That means we have a program designed for you. Whether you're a high school student, an adult returning to complete your degree, or someone looking to enhance your credentials and prepare for career growth. As a member of this university community, you'll also find support in your spiritual and personal life so you can grow in the faith and discover ways to serve others. To start your next journey with us, visit cuchicago.edu today.
Welcome into the halftime report here inside of Geisman Gymnasium. Carter Gledhill, Peter Borkowski, and Parker Kelly with you on the Cougar Sports Network. The Benedictine Eagles currently lead CUC by a score of 32-26. It was a slow end to the second quarter, but let's start offensively for the Cougars. McKaylee Hopkins, 12 points is a new career high for the freshman. And Peter, she's been playing exceptionally well and has come up in a big way for the Cougars in the absence of Catherine Benes.
Well, with Benes out for the game, with Ellis having limited minutes as well, they've given the ball in the hands of Hopkins, and she's doing a great job finding ways to get to the rim. She's so shifty. She's able to work around these defenders, and she's very creative at the rim too. Maybe she needs to convert maybe a couple more times, but like you said, she's already their leading scorer, career high in points. She's creative. She's finding ways to get to the rim. She does need a little bit of help, though, obviously, as the score indicates. She can't do it all herself. Maybe getting Allison McGregor moving a little bit more, getting some help from Jaylene Wade. That's going to really put this team over the top, of Hopkins having a great game.
Well, Parker, I'll turn it over to you. You were courtside when Sydney Laurie hit that half-court buzzer beater to end the first quarter. She has 5 points, her first points of the season, we should add as well. But the Eagles right now, after a momentum shifter that favored CUC to start the second quarter, they closed the first half on an 11-0 run over the last 6 minutes. And it's been kind of this theme we've seen throughout the game is the Eagles have been able to slow down offenses and offensive drives for the Cougars, and the Eagles are able to capitalize on defensive stands and put up long runs.
Yeah, they're going back to what you first said about Sydney Lloyd's half-court shot. There's no doubt that shot left Geisman elated. But here's the thing, the Cougars cannot allow the Eagles to go on these 11-0 runs, and they can't afford to go 6 minutes without scoring. In a game like this where it's a rivalry game, it's very chippy. You've got to be able to score. You've got to be able to capitalize on the possessions that they have.
One final note here, Peter, you mentioned it on the broadcast as well. Eagles were 4 of 10 from behind the three-point arc in the first quarter. They were 0 for 4 in the second quarter in that same department. What are the Eagles doing offensively that has allowed them to still have a 6-point lead?
Well, they're moving towards the rim now. I think the Cougars started to press out a bit more after that first quarter, and Benedictine took notice. Now they're moving down to the baseline. We've seen some good action between Carroll and Carquist between those that two-man game they got going. They're finding ways to get to the rim, use the baseline, use their cutters, use their drivers. They've changed their game plan around a little, but it's paying off for them, so good adjustment on the coaching staff there.
Well, both these teams are 7-6, and they're outside of the playoff picture right now in the NAC. The winner of this game has a better chance of getting in, and it's going to come down to the final 20 minutes of play inside of Geisman. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll bring you second half basketball on the Cougar Sports Network. Start the second half. The Cougars will have the first possession. Well, Leah Perry with the ball, who is 0 for 3 right now in the game. The all-tournament team recipient of CIT for the Cougars. Without a point in the box score right now. Something that CUC would like to change, getting the opportunity and more chances for number one to score. Ball's in the hands of the leading scorer right now, McKaylee Hopkins. Rare three from McGregor. Had to chuck it up as the shot clock was going down. Bounced out to Perry. She misses a three. Eagles go the other way.
Say Perry's really struggled from 3, 0 for 4 in tonight's game, but just as of recently, she's just not shooting the ball well from beyond the arc. She's got to change her game plan up a little bit. When those threes aren't falling, you have to get to the rim, find other ways to score.
Leading scorer for the Eagles after the first half, Sierra Skack, who hit 3 3-pointers. And since then has been quiet. A miss inside from Brianna Lake. McKaylee Hopkins gives it up to Allison McGregor. McGregor with the bucket in transition. And that's something the Cougars can do more often in this second half to get Allison McGregor more involved in the offense, is getting her feet moving.
Well, I talked about that a little with you in the halftime break. She's best when she is moving. She might not be the biggest or tallest, center player out there, let's call her, but she's usually quicker than her big opponent. So getting her moving to the rim, getting her rolling, that's where she specializes.
A missed open layup for the Eagles. A rare miss for Benedictine after a great pass inside. Missouri Wiggum was caught sleeping, a backdoor cut. Brianna Lake with the tip, Malia Perry. And that rattles in and out. She is still without points in this game. She's now 0 for 4 from three-pointers.
Perry just cannot buy a three right now. It was a beautiful look. It was in and out, too. I think she's just running into some bad luck right now.
Eagles closed out the first half on an 11-0 run over the last 6 minutes. Kenzie Carroll drives inside. Wade gets the ball, and now both players are fighting for it on the court. Possession arrow will favor the Eagles. So with no change of possession, the shot clock will reset. But Coach Martin is not happy at all. She is on the court right now pleading her case. Eagles had the ball. Kenzie Carroll lost it in the paint. And then there was a jump ball called, so the shot clock after the officials' conversations on the court will stay at 30 seconds. Missouri Wickham able to get a hand on the pass. That was from Carson McCoy. Now the Eagles will play defense as CUC goes the other way. Malia Perry tries baseline, gets stopped. Good defense from the Eagles, and number 30, Megan Duzansky. A rebound by Kenzie Carroll. Only 5'5", but she has been an aggressive guard for the Eagles when it comes to rebounding.
Well, she's just, she's one of those players, kind of like Dennis Rodman was, where she might not be the biggest player out there, but her positioning, her basketball IQ, she's right where she needs to be, and she's quick, so she's usually able to beat players to that spot. They're just pulling out the smarts there. Good positioning on her part.
Eagles have a man up in the front court. Brianna Lake able to finish. And that's where the Eagles are taking a play out of the Cougars playbook as Duzansky knocks away the inbound pass over the bench. At times we've seen the Eagles slow it down, but they also know when to speed it up. And when someone's able to get behind the Cougars defense in a fast break, the Eagles are usually able to complete the pass and get some points out of it.
Well, they still only have 2 official fast break points, but they've been doing a great job of, even though if they might not score, just using that Cougars unsettledness, I guess for lack of a better term, to their advantage, because even if the Cougars are technically back, they're definitely not set. They're scrambling.
Lake kicks it out to the right wing. Skack hits the three. First three-pointer for the Eagles since the first quarter.
So that's got to be a nightmare for the Cougars right now. Benedictine's doing well inside the three-point arc. Now if they're going to start hitting those threes again, things are going to go south really fast for CUC. They got to keep that perimeter defense on lock.
Perry with the crossover. Spinning around in the paint. Loses it. Wade picks it up. 4 seconds on the shot clock. Wade, right elbow jumper, hits
nice. It. That's where Wade really specializes, dribbling into open space, using her own, shiftiness to give herself just enough space to finish with the jumper.
Well, in the first half, Perry had 12 points, and the only other starters for CUC that had points were Wade and McGregor. They combined for just 6, but we've already seen both players getting involved here in the third quarter.
And it's kind of been the story of the season for the Cougars. Even when they were having really good success at the beginning of conference play, it was really a one-woman show with Kate Bennis taking charge, and that's what it was up until tonight with through where we are right now in the game with McKaylee Hopkins. So getting everybody involved in the offense has been a season-long struggle for the CUC team.
Possession arrow favored the Cougars after the jump ball. McKaylee Hopkins now, fast break, fading away. What a shot from McKaylee Hopkins.
I say she was double teamed basically from the inbound pass, and then she ran into the defender on the basket, but it doesn't matter to number 11 in white. She was going to finish that play.
14 points for the freshman. Cougars trail by 5. halfway through the third quarter. She gets the steal now and will slow things down. Instead looks up, finds Malia Perry, wanted the jumper, pulls it in a couple steps.
There you go.
And that's a confidence booster right there for Malia Perry.
I love that choice from Perry. I think she was ready to pull up from right inside the arc. It wasn't a three-pointer, but instead she pumps it, takes a couple dribbles in, and gets that much easier shot off. That's what she needs to do right now since she's struggling with those distance shots.
And a miss inside. Brianna Lake again. Eagles are able to find their way behind Cougar defenders, but have not been able to capitalize. Hopkins tried to slip it in to Allison McGregor, and it goes out of bounds. Looks like our camera got hit as well by the ball, so hopefully the camera's all right on the baseline.
So Charlie's not happy about it.
Charlie T. Cougar on his knees praying that that expensive piece of equipment is not harmed in any way.
So I'm sure we'll have a clip of that somewhere.
Malia Perry picks up her dribble. Gets it back. Cougars trying to stir up some offense, but Kenzie Carroll with the steal. 1v2. Using the left hand, no good. Hopkins gets the rebound. A feisty rebound for McKaylee Hopkins.
Great defense by Wade to stay on the inside of Carroll.
A three-pointer, just short. Poked out to Madeline Kohler for the Eagles.
I think Perry sometimes needs to be more in a pass-first mindset. She's struggling from three, but on that breakdown court, her first instinct was to fire up from beyond the arc. I think instead she's got to think about pass, get to the inside a little more while she's struggling with those three-pointers.
Foul is called on McKaylee Hopkins. That is her second. But again, she's just learning the game, and you talked about it in the first and second quarter as this is a freshman guard. She is now put in the role where she is called upon to be a leading scorer for this team. And with that also is understanding as a point guard, bringing the ball up for your team, when is the right time to push and when it's time to draw it back a little bit, as Brianna Lake had a nice reverse layup.
And that's part of the learning experience, too, is learning your role, which also isn't necessarily on the player's part. That's on the coaching staff, too, knowing how to use her strengths to the best of her abilities. And I think they're kind of figuring that out tonight. A lot of drives to the rim. It'll be interesting to see what her role is once these main starters like Bennis, like Ellis, get back into the lineup more.
Perry hits it off the side of the backboard. Sydney Lloyd in to replace Allison McGregor. Perry again, baseline, tried to float it in. And she's trying, and as you mentioned, she just can't buy a bucket right now. 1 for 8 from the field.
Again, I think this shot selection's been a little bit smarter, which is good on her part, realizing that she needs to do something other than jack the three right now, but just not able to get that tough finish there.
Rebound by Kenzie Carroll, fighting to get it out to a teammate. Three-pointer, Skak misses, ball popping around. Carroll, another offensive board, and she gets fouled hard by McKaylee Hopkins. Hopkins picks up her third.
Say what you will about Carroll, she just goes 110% all of the time. She hit that floor hard because of how hard she ran into Hopkins. Ended up drawing the foul.
30-second timeout called by the Cougars. They trail by 5 with 2:40 remaining in the third quarter. We'll take a quick break. You're watching the Cougar Sports Network. Cougars burn a 30-second timeout. They have 2 remaining in the game. The Eagles with 4. Right before the timeout was called, McKaylee Hopkins picked up her third personal foul. Kenzie Carroll was the one that received the worst of it, hitting the court pretty hard. Step back 3 for Sierra Skak, who is really just taking it upon herself to be the backbone of the three-point game for the Eagles. 15 points for number 15. She's 5 of 8 from downtown. Sydney Lloyd in the paint, lays it in. Great vision by Jaylene Wade, driving baseline and finding her teammate in the paint.
Big mismatch there between Lloyd and Carroll. I think Lloyd even gave a little bit of a push off there on Carroll. Nothing was called though, so Lloyd used that newfound space to deliver on that little shot.
CUC has been able to get to a one-possession ball game, but has not led since the 5:32 mark of the first quarter. They've been playing from behind since.
And Parker Kelly kind of talked about this at the halftime show, whereas CUC needs a big run. Great save there by Lloyd. They need a run of their own. They can't just keep playing catch-up here.
Lloyd with the power move, and a charge is called. Offensive foul on number 14, Sydney Lloyd.
I mentioned Lloyd might have gotten away with a little something against Carroll on her recent basket. That one was a bit more explicit, though.
Some of the boos raining in from the Geisman stands. The Cougar faithful not happy with that call. McKaylee Hopkins comes out. Right now, the 5 on the court for the Cougars: Jaylene Wade, Sydney Lloyd, Malia Perry, Allison McGregor, and Princess Gates. And a travel violation is called against Carlquist. Tried to cross it over in the paint. Tenth turnover for Benedictine of the ball game. CUC with 11. They have definitely cut down the amount of turnovers here in the third quarter.
They're playing some really smart ball right now and just not committing those errant passes, those misjudgments of when you should get rid of the ball. They're playing very smart ball.
Foul called on Jordan Carlquist. She'll pick up her second personal foul. That is only the first foul called on the Eagles here in the third quarter, and there's 55.6 seconds remaining.
So, talk about Cougars playing some smart ball. Eagles, they're right there too. First foul of the quarter, like you mentioned. It might not seem like much. A trip to the free throw could only net you 2 points, but those add up after time. So finding a way to keep the other team off the free throw line, that's big.
Perry in the paint. Didn't have the three-pointer, drove instead to the free throw line. Nice jump shot from Malia Perry. Number 1 now has 4 points. Allison McGregor able to get the steal.
Perry's almost seemed to be cognizant of that. She's not hitting well from 3, so she's been moving in. We've seen it a lot in this quarter. So good on her part, knowing her weakness and trying to work around it right now.
Less than a second separating shot clock and game clock. Under 10 seconds. Jaylene Wade, step back, jumper, no good. That would have sent Geisman into a frenzy. And a last-second heave from the Eagles almost went in.
So close.
Sarah Smith tried to match the buzzer beater of the end of the first quarter of Sydney Lloyd, but it comes up just short. Benedictine leads 42-38 over the Cougars. After 30 minutes of play, the final 10 minutes could be very important. We'll see what happens. Can the Cougars come back and pick up a much-needed home victory in front of a Geisman crowd? We'll see. We'll send it down to Parker Kelly for a courtside report. Parker, what do you got for us?
Thank you, Carter. Well, the Cougars are playing much cleaner on the defensive end. They've cut this Eagles lead to 4. They've also held the Eagles to 31% shooting from both the field and from behind the three-point line. And the Cougars are shooting much better from the field. They have to continue to keep capitalizing on these opportunities if they want to pull away in this game. Back to you, Carter.
Thank you, Parker. And he brings up a very good point, is that in that last quarter, Eagles only shot 29% from the field, so a little bit below what their average is on the game. But nonetheless, CUC has started taking less shots from behind the three-point arc, and we've seen, like Malia Perry, McKaylee Hopkins, trying to get the ball closer inside that arc, but they're also looking for more assists, and there's a lot more avenues that CUC is realizing is open in their offensive playbook.
I love that game plan from Coach Martin. I think that's really the full potential of this team. They have a lot of players of similar build, similar size, similar speed and athleticism. Start using that. Start sending everybody just moving around the court, create chaos, and find those assist opportunities and players diving to the rim.
In the far corner for the Eagles is number 10, Madeline Kohler. Carlquist gives it up. Lake a three-pointer, hits back iron, the top belt, and everything else on the backboard. Substitution for Coach Martin early in the fourth quarter. Only 8 seconds in, and brings McKaylee Hopkins off the bench for Princess Gates.
Hopkins needs to have a monster quarter here. Cougars got a 4-point gap to close.
Cougars outscored the Eagles 12-10 in the third quarter, but to your point, Peter, what's it going to be for CUC to really take advantage of this game here in the final quarter of play?
Well, this might not be too specific, but they need to go on one of those runs that Parker was talking about earlier. This, Benedictine scores a couple, Cougars score a couple. It just cannot last if they want to come back from a 4-point deficit. They need to start stringing some points together, defensive stops together. That's what it's going to take.
Three-pointer for the Eagles, airballed by number 23, Sarah Smith. It was a good pass from Jordan Carlquist outside to the wing.
Something else Cougars going to need to do is capitalize on mistakes like that.
The hezzy from Lloyd. A missed three-pointer. Has definitely cooled off since her start of the night in the first quarter. Still 7 points for Lloyd, and a steal from McKaylee Hopkins. This is where we'll see her slow it down a little bit more. Couple black jerseys in front of her face. The point guard's already learning in this game how to slow things down in the transition.
Well, we've been talking about, too, how good she's been offensively. Defensively, she's been playing just as she has all year. One of the top leaders in the conference in steals per game, and she's showing it off. Her defensive IQ, her defensive, placement's just so good. She's always where that pass is going to be.
Think about this, too. She had a 10-steal game this season. And she's been a big part as Allison McGregor gets a bucket. And just to end the point on McKaylee Hopkins, a 10-steal game against IIT, that is an impressive feat for any player, but especially a freshman.
Again, she's already got so many of those intangibles that you just can't teach. She's already playing well as a freshman. She's only going to get better as she picks up on some things like free throw shooting, like learning the pace of game.
A nice slip in for the Eagles, but a missed layup inside from Brianna Lake. Perry drives, left hand.
Nice.
Cougars tie it. 7:38 remaining in the fourth quarter. Malia Perry ties the game on her layup. 42 all here inside a Geisman Gymnasium. 30-second timeout called by the Eagles. We'll step aside for a quick break on the Cougars Sports Network. Cougars tie the game up 42-42, but what we just saw there is CUC playing smart team basketball, Peter, and it was a little bit slower for them out of the gate. A lot of ISO ball, but we're starting to see it finally click for this young squad on the court for CUC.
I talked about it earlier, how this team always seems to play well, second quarter, beginning of third, and then drift off as the game ends. We're seeing the opposite of that tonight. They've been playing better as the night's gone on. It's time to really pull through, finish this game off. You have the momentum.
Good look inside. Lloyd McGregor fouled and one. Allison McGregor finishes in the paint. And again, team basketball for the Cougars. One pass, two pass leads to 2 points and a foul.
And that right there shows how much they've learned through this game. Earlier in the game, you expect to see them to pull up from three almost immediately after breaking into the zone. Instead, they let players get a little bit set. They find that odd man situation and they exploit it, especially with the taller McGregor under the basket. Great play by number 30 as well.
Cougars take their first lead of the game since the 5.5-minute mark in the first quarter. A running jumper from Kenzie Carroll to tie the game back up. That's the answer the Eagles need. Carroll now has 4 points, but let's see what the Cougars can do. Can they keep going back and forth with Benedictine?
No, you can't get fazed by that. Keep playing that same ball just like that.
And another and one for Allison McGregor. Credit McKaylee Hopkins with the assist, as McGregor now has reached double-digit scoring and has herself another double-double.
We see this from McGregor almost every game where she just goes on an absolute tear for a couple minutes, and we're seeing it right now. I wish that she's a bit more consistent with that in terms of playing that out over the course of a game, but I don't think they're going to complain about what she's doing right now. It's time to keep building on that. Don't let up the gas, or this Benedictine team's going to make you pay for that.
McGregor now has her 4th double-double of the season, her 2nd in the last 4 games. And now we have a stoppage of play to check on the clock. Substitutions during the break for the Eagles. Sierra Skack comes in and replaces number 13, Charson McCory. Had to get the shot clock correct. Allison McGregor gives it out to Perry Gates in the far corner. 7 seconds for CUC. Up by 2. McGregor in the paint. McGregor spinning around. Can't finish. Ball pops out. Almost went out of bounds on Benedictine.
As electrifying as the Cougars' offense has been, now it's time for the defense to step up, do their part as well. Benedictine's been finding ways around it this second half. They just haven't been finishing on those shots. You got to shut those doors down now. You can't just rely on some bad shooting performances to help you out.
McGregor got a piece of the ball. Kenzie Carroll went up with her right hand instead of the left on the left side of the basket. Gave an opportunity for McGregor to come in and deflect the ball, and now a foul is called. They're going to get Princess Gates for an off-ball foul. She was guarding Brianna Lake, and the two of them were the farthest away from the inbounds.
You're getting a little too handsy, maybe.
So Gates picks up her first foul. That is the Cougars' first of the fourth quarter. Carroll at the top. One-on-one with Wade. Pushes off, and the foul is called.
Nice. So they were going to let Carroll take that one in all the way. That baseline movement that we saw, towards the end of the first half, which we mentioned in the halftime report, that's basically non-existent right now. That was all on Carroll to finish the play, and ends up committing the foul. Ball goes Cougars' way.
Hopkins dishes it over to the other side.
Nice swing pass there.
Trying to spread the Eagles out defensively. Hopkins spinning around. Tough shot. Can't get it to go. McGregor in the paint. That can't go.
You got to finish those. As good as McGregor's been lately, that's one of those buckets I bet she wishes she had back.
Smith looking for somewhere to go. Gates playing hard defense on the ball. And throwing it out of bounds is Brianna Lake. And the Cougars bench is starting to get a little bit more into this game. Coach Lauren Martin trying to lead the charge, fifth-year head coach for CUC. Game has gone on. She has been very adamant on the bench. She's been very animated as well, getting this team involved, getting the bench involved. Someone step up in this situation as CUC turns it over. But dribbling it out of bounds is Sarah Smith.
The energy's been something the Cougars have been lacking. They've been struggling in their last 6-7 games or so, and I think it's because they just feel sluggish. When they go down, they really cower back. It almost feels like this bench needs to pick up that energy, needs to boost their players on the court up. Those court players need to feed off of that if they want to turn around this rough stretch of play.
been almost 2 minutes since the last field goal for CUC. Now we see McGregor almost lose it. Wade on the block. Perry at the top of the key. Still no shot for the Cougars with 5 seconds on the shot clock. Gates goes baseline, and that's blocked by the Eagles. Number 22, Brianna Lake, sliding over in the paint.
Defensive rotation there. Able to shut down the drive to the rim. Now it's up to the Cougars defense to keep standing tall. Like you said, the offense has been struggling the last few minutes. Defense, so they've been picking up the slack.
And one for the Eagles. Lake gets it done in the paint to tie things up. Has a chance to give the Eagles a 1-point lead. Lake was able to shimmy her way into the paint. And again, an impressive shot too. Talk about a quick turnaround. You have to be ready to shoot when you come out of that pivot. Lake now has 12 points. She came into tonight averaging single digits with 5.
Say Perry.
And a miss on the Cougars' end by Perry.
Still 0 from beyond the arc.
Eagles up by 1. 3:37 remaining in the fourth quarter. Both of these teams tied at 7 and 5 in the NAC Conference. Winner will have the 7th seed in the NAC standings. And that underhand shot from Brianna Lake hit the belt above the basket. Trying to draw some contact as well. Head coach Oliver Wiseman talking with the referee on the court. Jaylene Wade now has to get around Kenzie Carroll playing hard defense. Carroll's been all over the ball tonight, and a travel's called. That's what happens late in the game when you get a defender like Kenzie Carroll playing in your face. Turnovers are more likely.
Carroll's just very energetic. We've already mentioned how she's a little bit undersized, but she makes up for it by just kind of being a pest defensively, getting in your face, throwing some hands around. She's going to make your life as miserable as possible as you're the ball handler, and we saw the effects of it there.
Driving in the paint, Megan Duzansky. Haven't said her name much tonight scoring-wise, and now a foul is called. Foul goes against Jaylene Wade. That is her 3rd, so 3 Cougars on the court right now with 3 fouls. That is Wade, Hopkins, and Lloyd.
That's when you got to watch out for it.
Lloyd gets tripped up or falls to the court. Slow to get up. Looks like she's holding her ankle. And she's able to walk around right now. So all right with Sydney Lloyd. Just looks like she lost her footing. But CUC had possession when time was called by the referees. McKaylee Hopkins, guarded by Sarah Smith. And again, chasing it down is Kenzie Carroll. You know, right now, if you're the Cougars, just try to get Kenzie Carroll away from the ball. Moving the ball around the perimeter might be something that CUC can get done, and it's been something that they've succeeded at in this quarter.
That, or we've seen her trapped inside the paint a couple of times, especially against Sydney Lloyd, which is just a big size mismatch there. Maybe getting her switched off onto a post player, get her away from that perimeter where she thrives with her speed and her hands.
Perry inside to McGregor, but good defense by Duzansky to come over from the backside. Wade with the steal. She's got 3 Eagles around her. She'll pull it out.
Pull it out. Good choice there.
Hopkins says, let me try my luck. No good on the first chance, and a foul is called. The foul is called against Megan Duzansky. Picks up her 3rd personal foul. It'll be the team's 4th. And again, just as we've seen, hard defense from the Eagles. Jaylene Wade just waiting in the bushes. Finally coming out at the last second to strike. Kenzie Carroll's pointing the other way. She thought that hit off Malia Perry. So Carroll now guards Jaylene Wade. And a foul is called. Kenzie Carroll gets called for an off-ball foul. And here's the turning point in this game, Peter. It is free throw time for the Cougars for the last 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
This is going to be big. You're going to go to the line a lot now, hopefully. So being able to convert on these in a 1-2 point game, just like that.
Well, they have one of their better free throw shooters at the line, Jaylene Wade, shooting 73% on the season. As a team, the Cougars are shooting 65%. Wade goes 1 for 2. All tied up here at 47 apiece. Nearing 2 minutes to play in regulation time. The Cougars have not played an overtime game this season, but this might be the first. Another spin around move inside by Lake. Perry, a little slow to react to the spin around.
Wade's pushing.
Wade to McGregor. Cougars take the lead, 49-47.
And it's time for defense to really step up. Benedictine seemed to have things kind of figured out for a minute. She's got to shut things down right now. Less than a minute and a half to play.
The last time the Cougars beat the Eagles was February 10th, 2018. As Duzansky will head to the free throw line for some free throws, potentially to tie this game back up. Sydney Lloyd gets called for the foul.
That's where you really have to be disciplined. That was a pretty explicit foul from Lloyd. You know, you had a couple to give in terms of non-shooting fouls, so now that gap's closing as well.
Duzansky goes 1 for 2 from the free throw line. 1 point ball game in favor of the Cougars.
Well, now they got to find that nice balance. Slow things down, waste a little bit of the clock, but don't wait too long that if, you know, Benedictine scores, you run out of time yourself.
And a charge is called on Wade. That is huge. Jaylene Wade picks up her 4th foul. Coach Martin's talking to one of the refs and saying that Wade was pushed in to the Eagle. But a good charge taken by Benedictine. Right now there's about 3 seconds, or 3 possessions I should say, remaining in this game if each team takes the shot clock down. Duzansky in the paint, nowhere to go. And a timeout is called by Oliver Wiseman to avoid the 3-second violation. We're going to take a quick break. Full timeout taken by the Eagles. 57.1 seconds remaining. CUC leads Benedictine 49-48. I want to take a moment to thank everybody on the Cougar Sports Network production side of things. Chandler Kerr, Wyatt McLaughlin, Jada Carr, Kate Johnson, Katie Schrems, Julia Beers, Saba Miller, under the direction of Sydney Palaskis-Laher, Claire Hickey, and Kayla McLeod. Courtside reporter tonight, Parker Kelly, joined in the booth here by Peter Borkowski. I'm Carter Gledhill, glad to be with you on this fantastic Wednesday evening of basketball. A lot at stake here. We talked about it. The Cougars 9-10. The Eagles right now on the season 7-12. Both these teams in conference play 7-5. A lot coming down to the wire in this game, and also a lot riding on the line as the Eagles have 15 seconds on the shot clock.
So you were hoping for a close game coming into this one. It had major playoff implications, and we've gotten exactly that. It's going to be really interesting which of these two teams who have been struggling as of late find that final gear and push through.
Duzansky in the paint, misses, rebound by Wade, and a foul is called.
There we go. It's time to start converting on these free throws now. Luckily,
Sarah Smith gets called for the foul. Picks up her third personal foul. So now Jaylene Wade goes to the free throw line. She's 1 for 2. Took her first trip just a few minutes ago.
Yeah, luckily for Benedictine, even if Wade hits both of these, it's still going to be a one-possession game. So,
and you have to think, if you're the Cougars, there is one person on this court, probably two, but the person I'm implying right now that could potentially have a huge role in this final set plays for the Eagles is number 15, Sierra Skack.
So I was
5 for 8 from behind the three-point arc. She's number 15. Finds herself right now at the free throw line, guarded by Malia Perry.
Imagine she's going to pop out right there.
Perry's right in her hip pocket, gets a screen, step back three, misses. Lloyd's on the ground, 3 Eagles are around. And the jump ball arrow favors the Cougars. The shot clock is off, under 30 seconds in the game, and the Cougars will call a timeout. It's exactly what we thought would happen, is that Skack would have a 3-point look. It's a full timeout. We'll keep it here and just break down these last 30 seconds for you. The Eagles have not scored a field goal in the last 3.5 minutes. The Cougars have stepped up defensively. They have answered the bell. They knew exactly what they had to do at halftime, and that was go on a run, prevent the Eagles from doing the same thing. But right now what we're seeing from the Cougars, they're just playing all out. It may not be the prettiest final minutes of play, but they're finding a way to stay in front of the Eagles.
And that's something that seems to be have been missing from their last couple losses conference-wise, which is that they just don't really have that urgency, that grit, that grind to really, well, I don't like repeat myself, but grind things out in these close game situations. It's been a big test tonight against a Benedictine team who's been of almost equal talent to the Cougars, as they have identical conference records. So be interesting to see if they can grind this one out. Free throws are going to become huge.
If the Cougars do end up winning this game, it'll be their first win in almost 9 years at home against the Eagles. The last time the Cougars won was on Valentine's Day in 2014.
Oh.
By a score of 63-58, but a little bit of the history between these two teams. The Eagles, 23-8 all-time against the Cougars. There is a lot riding on this line, not just for pride in this game and a close nail-biter between an opponent that's 45 minutes away from you, but on the NAC playoff picture. Malia Perry with inbound, gives it to Sydney Lloyd. Eagles are going to try to trap.
They got a foul at some point, okay.
And they foul Sydney Lloyd. That is Brianna Lake with the foul.
So Lloyd hits one of these. You got to imagine that's basically it. You don't like saying things a little too early, but it'll be a 2-possession game. Shot clock's off. So
Lloyd, in her career, a 46% free throw shooter, but tonight she is 2 for 2. She has 7 points, which is her first points of the season tonight.
Ooh.
And misses the first free throw. Keep in mind the Eagles have 2 timeouts.
So that hit about every part of the rim, just didn't go through.
2 timeouts for the Eagles. Lloyd makes the second free throw, 4-point ball game. Eagles call a timeout. It'll be a 30-second timeout taken by Oliver Wiseman. And right now, if we're Coach Martin, you got the chalkboard. What are you drawing up defensively to try to prevent a 2-for-1 possession here for the Eagles? Because you know they're going to trap after if they get a quick shot and make.
Well, you want to press out a little bit on the perimeter, but you got to be careful not to foul. The last thing the Cougars want right now is a 4-point play they give up to Benedictine. I know those are extremely rare to come by, but still something you got to be cautious of. I'm not saying leave them wide open from beyond the 3, but if they're going to take a 3, which they probably will, just make sure you don't foul them. Get control of the ball in the inbound and just either wait for the foul or just don't throw it away. I don't think they need to do anything too drastic here. It's a big mission right now. Just don't foul on any kind of 3-point attempt.
Inbounding it for Benedictine is number 23, Sarah Smith. Again, looking for Sierra Skack, She's in the left corner. Turning around, Duzansky misses it. Crashing was number 22, Brianna Lake, and a jump ball is called. Possession will favor the Eagles. 13 and a half seconds remaining. And you saw Oliver Wiseman. He was pointing at the corner where Skak was, wide open. There was not a Cougar in sight.
Interesting choice there to take it inside. It's from Duzansky. Not the look they really needed or I bet wanted.
And now on the baseline, Eagles are trapped. Shot missed by Lake. Ball's popping around. Carroll with a heave. A miss under the basket. And the make is good. 1.7 seconds remaining, and a timeout is called by Coach Martin. So now this is where it's interesting. The game is tied. But the scoreboard is wrong.
I say it shouldn't
Everybody
be.
in Geisman's like, no way, it should not be tied. It should be 52-50 in favor of the Cougars. It was a made basket by Brianna Lake. So Lake now has 14 points. As the Cougars burn a timeout here, they have no timeouts remaining. The Eagles don't have one either. So this is the deal right here. First pass on the inbound, you have to trap. You have to foul if you're the Eagles. But if you're the Cougars, who are you trying to get the ball to? You got to get the ball in first, but you would imagine if you can get it in and just hold on to it, you'll be just fine. You just can't allow for a pass to be stolen.
No, these quick players out there, we'll see who's going to be the inbounder, but, you know, either Wade or Hopkins have to be out on the court because, you know, you think one of them, well, they'll both be out of the court as you see. It's Perry inbounding.
So Perry will inbound. The stack for the Cougars goes Hopkins, McGregor, Lloyd, and Wade, and the Cougars inbounds, and a foul is called with 0.2 seconds remaining.
Well,
foul is called on number 23, Sarah Smith. Picks up her fourth foul. There is still some time left on the clock.
well,
Now they're going to add some more time onto the clock. But here are the crucial free throws for McKaylee Hopkins. First free throw is missed.
so you just got to hit one.
Hopkins on the night is now 2 for 7. She has a career-high 14 points.
You got to hit one because Benedictine's going to have to take a three.
Dumps it off the top. And now a violation is called on the shooter.
I'll use the timeout.
And a timeout is called by the Eagles. What a wacky ending it's coming to be inside a Geisman Gymnasium. There is 0.2 seconds left on the clock. And it's hard to believe that there might be a play on that whiteboard for Oliver Wiseman to get a shot up in 0.2 seconds. But it's a full timeout. The Eagles have not been too hot so far in the closing minutes of the game. They are now 1 for their last 10 shots, and you have to go back to that last shot that was inside. Duzansky had a layup. She missed it. And there were a couple players as well. Lake, Smith, they were all in that area. But the Cougars did a good job of defending Sierra Skak and not allowing her to take an open look three. They didn't even allow her to get the ball in those last couple passes.
Well, and I'm sure they'll be locked down on her right now. We're about to see how good her catch and shoot is. I imagine we'll see her coming off a pick around the top of the key, grabbing that ball, and she's just got to heave it almost immediately, so she's going to start lower.
So there was a violation on the free throw from Hopkins. The timeout allowed for the ball to be advanced past half court, so now inbounding for the Eagles is Megan Duzansky.
So it looks like everyone's getting face guarded right now.
Everybody is man-to-man.
But Perry's right on top of Skak.
Sydney Lloyd, the 5'10 guard, is standing tall on the inbounder. Here we go. It's got to be a quick pass. At the rim, Eagles can't get it to go, and the Cougars win.
Wow.
Cougars win a nail-biter by a final score of 52-50 over the Benedictine University Eagles. The Cougars snap a 7-game losing streak to the Eagles and pick up their first home win against Benedictine since Valentine's Day of 2014. And you got to feel right now there's a lot of love on this team for CUC after they pick up a big conference win against the rival.
You beat me to the love pun, but Back to the game, yeah. Just a big game, not even in terms of playoff implications. You know, these teams neck and neck record-wise in conference play. Now Cougars take the lead in that, but also just a big momentum boost. You beat a team who you really struggled to beat over the last couple years. You have that momentum, you have that morale boost riding into the big final stretch of the season where you're going to see all conference opponents, and you know, playoffs are getting closer and closer. Games matter more and more. So big win for multiple reasons for this Cougars team, and just the ability for them to grind this one out. This was not an easy win for them to pull out. So good job to Coach Martin, who we're going to hear from in a minute. Good job to these players, everyone playing extremely hard.
Cougars outscored Benedictine 14-8 in the fourth quarter. You got to look at the third quarter as a turning point for this team, but somehow, some way, this team has come back in this game. It was almost 2 quarters that this team was trailing after leading halfway through the first. But let's hear it from the victor herself. Head coach Lauren Martin is standing by with our Parker Kelly for a post-game interview. Parker, let's hear what Coach Martin has to say about a big victory here inside of Geisman Gymnasium.
Well, Coach, it was a great all-around win for the Cougars. With the win, your team moves to 85 in the NAC, 10-10 overall. This is the first time the Cougars have beaten the Eagles on the home court in 9 years. How would you describe the win?
It was a gritty effort. Came from behind, girls pulled together. We talked about 1 second at a time, 1 minute at a time. And then they can won it over the day. That's what we're looking at right now. So here we are.
Had another career night. Her 4th double-double of the season. Had 12 points and 13 rebounds. How would you describe her effort here at Geisman tonight?
Outstanding. She ran the floor well, caught those passes from Jay, finished some ones for us, and does all the dirty work for us, and pulled those rebounds like she does. Out there just battling every night. So that's consistent. That's what this team needs. So.
And McKaylee Hopkins, in her first start of the season tonight, led the team in scoring with 14 points. She came in clutch for the Cougars tonight in replacement of KB. And how would you describe how special the freshman was tonight?
I mean, it was a career night for her. Out there scoring points, getting layups, leading the team with her handles. Defensively, I think she had 3 steals, 3 steals, 2 assists, 14 points, and 5 rebounds for a freshman. She's not playing like a freshman anymore, and I'm super proud of that kid for coming in and playing the way she did.
Well, thank you, Coach, for your time, and congratulations on the win. We'll go back to you, Carter.
Go winning!
Say one thing here as we're back in the broadcast booth. I think there's 2 things that Coach Martin said that really stuck out to me. I'll touch on the first thing. McKaylee Hopkins is not playing like a freshman anymore, and her performance tonight in her first start, as Parker and Coach Martin talked about, that is the kind of start that a future star of a team has in her young career.
Yeah, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Hopkins already has a lot of those things you want to see in a player. She has some of the stats to back her up. Conference leader in a major category in steals per game. She's quick, she's shifty, she finds ways to get to the rim, and she finds creative ways to finish. All those things are already in place. Now as she gets older, as she, learns more of the college game, gets more of that college coaching under her well, she's going to clean up those little lapses like actually finishing. Like finishing on free throws, getting to the free throw line. So she's only going to get better and better as time goes on. And one way or the other, she's going to be a major piece of this Cougars offense and defense in the upcoming 3 years.
And the other word that Coach Martin said to describe this team was gritty. Of the time played here tonight, CUC had the lead for only 6 minutes.
Wow.
6 minutes of the game the Cougars led, but it came down to the right time for them. And it was that end. And we talk about a team that is young. They're hungry. They've been struggling, and they went 3-6 in the month of January after going 6-4 in November and December. To have a win like this and then get ready to go back at home again on Saturday afternoon against MSOE, the Cougars have to be coming in with a little bit more confidence and pick up a huge win here tonight.
Well, and that game Saturday, something to note, that's their senior night, so you know they're going to be playing for the seniors on the squad. MSOE 3-9 in conference play, so on paper this is a team the Cougars should be able to pull a W out against, and that's going to be hopefully back-to-back conference wins. You get the senior night win. This is shaping up to be a really good stretch of the schedule for the Cougars to build that momentum before they get to those games that are really going to decide their playoff fate.
Cougars win tonight by a final score of 52-50. They get ready to take on the Raiders of Milwaukee School of Engineering on Saturday afternoon at 4:15. We'll have the coverage from you inside of Geisman Gymnasium with the Cougar pregame show and everything on the Cougar Sports Network. From my partner, Peter Borkowski, I'm Carter Gledhill signing off one more time. Cougars win, and we'll see you back here Saturday afternoon. And as always, Peter, hey, go Cougars.
Go Cougars.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's Concordia University Chicago Cougars Athletics broadcast. We hope to see you on campus very soon. If you would like to learn more about what Concordia Chicago has to offer, go to cuchicago.edu.
No, I know.